Chapter 3. Part 1. The best citizens of our glorious Republic volunteers responded to the call of our ancient and faithful ally Albina. A legion was formed, called the Golden Lion Legion, one of the best of the history of the Republic. To command such a powerful force, the Senate implored me that I, General Adrian de Paulo, the hero, de Gran Venue and Alasha, will command the expedition. I accepted such an undertaking with great modesty the objective of making the Republic proud of our actions in the Iron War. Extraordinary events in the Demember campaign. Author, Belix, L. Perpicaz, Gabala. Biographer of General Adrian. General Adrian de Paulo smiled satisfied. After a disappointing, tedious and long siege, the alliance had finally decided to make the final attack on the royal palace of King Dasmir II. Despite the fact that His Majesty had made a great effort to reinforce the defences of his palace, General Adrian was sure that this day would fall into the hands of the alliance. The attack was to be carried out at the same time on all four flanks of the palace, whose troops were isolated and demoralized. The legion he commanded was Szala's Republic's only aid to the White Blade Alliance. It was an express request of Albina to the Republic. Upon receiving the request in Szala, the Senate had to deliberate, and as always the decision was subject to heated debate. Many senators were reluctant to participate in a conflict in which most of the kingdoms of the Dragon Dorsal were involved. Taking sides meant earning many enemies and grudges in the future. But in the end the weight of the old alliances won. The argument that these ties should be respected was too forceful. Albina was always a faithful ally of the Republic, and this tipped the balance. In the end, the pro-intervention faction narrowly won the vote. Because it was such a close result, and to ingratiate itself with the faction that wanted to remain neutral in the conflict, in the final resolution it was decided to only send an expeditionary legion made up exclusively of volunteer soldiers. The Senate put the young and ambitious General Adrian in command of the legion. And all went well until the arrival of Demember in the kingdom. The main problem is that the alliance was not as united as it seemed. Each kingdom had very marked interests and did not want to collaborate intensely in the achievement of the objectives of the other kingdoms. The dwarfs wanted possession of the northern mines and were reluctant to fight with men, although in the taking of the red mines it seemed that they would act in combination. Albina's generals were more interested in enhancing their personal glory before the new monarch than in being effective in war. And the king of Scythia seemed fearful and self-conscious about the fact that he had betrayed his allies in the Dorsal League, and was hesitant about any decision that had to be made. That is why his legion was very intelligently assigned to Scythia. Adrian would exert the necessary influence to make the king much more incisive in the attack. Adrian was the one who masterminded the collapse of the Grand Canal at the beginning of the war, an action that put the entire kingdom of Demember in check and caused a great advantage for the alliance. After that, nothing more, until at last Adrian's pressures were effective and the king ordered the great palace to be besieged, taking advantage of the fact that Demebra's forces were widely dispersed. Adrian wanted King Dasmir's head on a silver platter, a great triumph that would increase his popularity within the Republic, as they liked nothing more than a beheaded king. Now there was Adrian on the top of a hill, waiting for the signal. He wore his full armor. His personal biographer wrote down the harangue speech to the troops. The young general proudly commanded his legion, ready in attack formation. They would attack from the northern flank of King Dasmir's palace. The once splendid palace now looked horrible as a result of the siege. On the west flank stood out its enormous canal that supplied it with water but was completely dry. And because of that dry basin the palace was more vulnerable. In that area Albina's troops would attack accompanied by a small dwarf contingent. The southern flank would be attacked by the royal army of Scythia, but it was rather a distraction to disperse the defenders since their fame as warriors was not very high, nor did they seem very committed. On the western flank some mercenary companies from Almera would attack. The defenders had nothing to do. So when they saw the arrows full of flames rising through the still dark sky, the general ordered his legion to advance. General Adrian didn't like being a more than competent warrior very much, being on the front line, too much dirt for his exceptional armor. He left the hard part of the combat to his subordinates. He stood in the rear with the legion's banner and his personal guard. In addition, the standard had been designed by himself, a lion holding the coat of arms of the Republic.